Hi, I'm Ryan Rivers, President of the Delaware County Township Association. Join Michelle Gatchel and me for our 2020 Year in Review as we speak with Tom Curtin, Rob Leeds, and Bob Lamb on parks, agriculture, and economic development, all that was accomplished in 2020, and a look ahead for the goals and plans for 2021.
And joining us now to talk about the state of agriculture in Delaware County is OSU Extension Services educator Rob Leeds. Rob is also an agritourism farmer right here in Delaware County over in Ostrander area. Hey Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Michelle. I appreciate the invitation to come out. Yeah, we can just go ahead and get started, and we'll talk a little bit about Delaware County agriculture. First of all, as you said, I'm Rob Leeds with the OSU Extension Office here in Delaware County, and I want to give credit to my coworker, Jackie Smith. She helped me put together the numbers that we're going to talk about today. First of all, what we're going to kind of hit on is, first of all, what does 2019 agriculture in Delaware County look like? I'll give you some numbers. Try not to get caught too much on the numbers, but I think I like to use them more as trends, so you get an idea of what's happening and what Delaware County agriculture looks like. Sometimes the numbers are good estimates. Then we're going to compare it to other counties in Central Ohio to see how we kind of stack up that way. And then we'll talk a little bit about the trends in Delaware County, how agriculture is changing through the years. And we'll compare it to 2010, about 10 years ago, and then we'll compare it to 1991 or something. So that'll give us a good idea of just how things are changing through the years. First of all, we'll kind of look at what agriculture is in Delaware County in 2019. As far as ag sales, we're close to 870 or $87 million in ag sales. So it is really a substantial business in Delaware County. We have a lot of different entities that kind of go into that, and we'll talk about those as we go down through it. First of all, when you talk about the number of acres in farms, we have about 132,000 acres of land in Delaware County that is considered farm ground. That's about 45% of our total acres. We got 292,000 acres total in Delaware County. That makes up the county itself. We have about 803 farms in Delaware County, and ODA class, or Ohio Department of Agriculture, classifies a farm as anything bringing in farm income of over $2,500. So that kind of goes back to their definition. So we have about 803 of those farms. The average farm size is about 165 acres. So it's not huge, but there's a lot of small farms, and we do have some bigger ones, and we'll talk about those as we go by. When we talk about crops now, soybeans is going to be our biggest crop. That's soybeans king here in Delaware County. We have about 63,000 harvested acres, and that ranks us about 34th out of the 88 counties here in Ohio. So we're about halfway. Corn, also the same way. We have about 3,100 or 31,000 acres harvested. That ranks us about 33rd. So once again, we're in the upper half of those. Now, when it comes to livestock, Delaware County doesn't rank near as high. We have all cattle, which in that situation is considered beef cattle or cow-calf operations, that type of thing. And we rank 79th. We have about 2,700 cows, and that's two really distinct industries in Delaware County. We have the cow-calf operations, freezer beef, stuff that's sold direct to the consumers, and 4-H projects, breeding stock, that type of thing. And then we also have the commercial cattle operations, and that really is the people that have a feedlot or small feedlot and then sell directly to a packer. So that's two very distinct. We also have a milk cows here in Delaware County. Not a huge amount of farms milking cattle anymore. We rank about 59th, which is not bad. We have about 300 cows here in Delaware County, mostly on smaller farms that we have throughout the county. Next, let's kind of look at Delaware County comparing to the counties around us. Once again, when we look at the counties around us and we look at Delaware County, we are right next to Franklin County and coming up. Some of the county around us, Licking County, for example, it also has those development pressures. But when you look at the ag sales in there, once again, keep it in mind that we're close to that 87 million mark. Knox County is a little bit higher. Corn and soybeans, once again, we're close in that, but the corn's ranked a little bit higher than us. But we really see the difference is the livestock sectors. And cattle and then the milk cows, they're much higher than what we rank already. So Marion County, a lot the same way. That's considered the next tier out. So they're about $135 million in sales. And the corn's ranked higher than us. The cattle's ranked a little bit higher than us, and then their milking cows, they are quite a bit higher than us. So you're seeing that influx of the livestock operation. Marion and Knox and Licking, we'll talk about a little bit too. They also have large egg producing operations in there, which help to add to their ag sales. Morrow County, not as much, and you can see that reflected. If I'd have Union County up here, you'd see much the same story. They rank above us in the livestock sector, which brings theirs up, but then when we really talk about poultry, then they really have a higher dollar in ag sales. So Licking County is a little bit above us, but when you go back to Morrow County, cattle and milk, they're about the same as us, and soybeans about the same too. So when we look at the counties around us, we're fairly competitive. If you go that next tier out with Knox and Marion County and a little bit of Licking, you see a little bit of the difference, the increase in the livestock operations. And that's really what you kind of see in a developing county, is that the livestock operations, cattle and calves, milk cows, take a lot more land for pasture, for forages. So that tends to get reduced a little bit right there, and then that way we aren't able to raise those kind of commodities out there. So you see smaller ones, and a little bit, like I said too, that we start to see our industry kind of break apart into those kind of niche markets, if you will, the freezer beef that have kind of proliferated through. Now let's talk a little bit more about what makes up Delaware County's ag industry. The one thing that I really want to look at here is as we kind of break it down. First of all, when you compare to 2010 in ag sales, we were only about $78 million in ag sales in 2010. So in those 10 years, we've actually jumped up about 16 million. Okay, so the question is, where did that come from? What happened, or what changes have we made in the county to increase those sales? Okay, so we look at that, and you look at corn acres are down, bean acres are down, wheat is down, cattle and calves are down, milk is down. So a lot of our traditional things are kind of reducing. But when you look at the receipts, then it starts to tell that story that we talked about earlier. The receipts, the cattle and calves are down as a total, but when we look at receipts, it's actually a little bit higher. Now, why is that? Because they've moved to a direct marketing, or they've moved to a place where they have an opportunity to sell their cattle and calves at a little higher operation. And that's what we're seeing in Delaware County. We're seeing some people selling the freezer beef, they're doing farmers markets, going direct to the consumer, so they're getting a little higher receipts. Milk, we're seeing a little bit of the same thing, not a lot. Once again, that's probably more fluctuation in milk prices. Hog receipts, haven't talked a lot about hogs, but they're down a little bit. And we can talk a little bit about how that's been affected by COVID too here in a little bit, but they're down a little bit. But where we see the upside, the big upside, is two places. First of all, it's the nursery greenhouse operations. You can see right there, $21 million in increase from 2010 to 2019. In 2010, they didn't even measure it in Delaware County because it wasn't big enough. So that's been a big change in Delaware County. When you look around, I'm sure a lot of you can say, I see that happening. We have a lot of smaller operations land-wise, but they're selling high-value product. Then the other thing we're starting to see too is, when I was talking about we're losing cattle and calves, we're actually picking up the smaller ruminants like sheep and goats. Once again, it's only up about 500,000, but the idea is we didn't even measure it back in 2010. So once again, it's a changing of our ag sector to smaller ruminants that we can sell to direct marketing with goats, an ethnic market, sheep the same way. Then the nursery greenhouse, which really reflects some of the things that we've been talking about as far as a changing a suburbanite type Delaware County. A lot of our producers are changing the way they do things and the products they raise to stay into agriculture. And we're seeing those changes when we look at the numbers. Okay, then the last thing we'll just take a real quick look at is too, I just like to compare it to, we did 10 years and let's just do 20 years looking out to, and this is where you really see the land and farms really changing. So in 1991, they were talking, we had 190,000 acres in agriculture. And once again, don't get caught up on the numbers. I just think that's more of a trend. But in 2019, we're looking at that 132,000 acres. So we definitely seeing loss of land, and that's why it's kind of driving some of this towards the higher value products. The funny thing is, and I didn't put this up here, is that the 2010 numbers are real close to the 2019 numbers. But when you look at the long-term trends, and I don't think anybody would debate that, we're losing farm ground quite rapidly as you look around Delaware County. When you look at number of farms, if you look at 1991, we had 790 farms. 2010, 720, and now we're jumping up to 803. So once again, we're gaining farms, but look at the farm size. They're getting smaller. We're getting more intensive in the products we sell. Working a lot with the direct marketers, farmers markets, on-farm markets, agritourism getting bigger. We're also doing a few of the wineries and breweries picking up too. So what we're seeing is more farms, but we're seeing smaller farms, and they're able to sell those higher value products. So anyway, that's kind of the just of what we're seeing in Delaware County too. And I guess the big takeaway is, threefold. First of all, agriculture in Delaware County is still a very viable enterprise. We're talking $87 million in sales, and that comes back into the county, and most of that's spent locally. The second is we have a changing agriculture in Delaware County. We're getting smaller farms, but we're getting more intensive in the idea of selling a higher value product off of those farms. And then the last thing I'll leave you with too is we're changing the products that we raise. Back in 2010, we weren't even measuring the green industry, which is nursery landscape. Now it's becoming one of our larger components to our ag industry. And a lot of that just solidifies that what we see in Delaware County, it's changing, but our agricultural arena is changing with it. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, they can feel free to email me, leads.2@osu.edu or Jackie Smith at smith.11005. So anyway, you have any questions?
Yeah, Rob, gosh, thank you for that presentation. Really informative, and it kind of is interesting to see that slice from the 1900s, 91, right? 1991 until
Right. Mm-hmm.
2019.
And Michelle, the reason I picked it out was because that's when I started. So.
Oh, there you go. That works. You mentioned the specialty industries and smaller farms like landscaping. So why is that such a growing industry?
Well, the big thing is, it's not just the landscaping. It's raising the plants. We have some big greenhouses we have around here now that are springing up. But once again, it's because really that's what our customers are wanting. As we become more suburbanized, then those products are in demand. So that we've stepped up and we've started raising those types of things. The advent of the agritourism industry in Delaware County is another thing that really isn't caught in this, but we're seeing a lot more of that. So a lot of that is just a reaction to what's happening around us. When you drive around Delaware County, especially when you get south and you go east, it's a lot more suburban than we were in 1991. But if you get north, then it's very rural and it's very much of traditional agriculture up that way. We have some sprinkling, but and that's why when you look at it, you see a sprinkling of both. I think it's very interesting because we have such a diverse ag economy here in Delaware County, but it's really reflecting the customers as they're moving out from the Central Ohio area.
And Rob, obviously, COVID has had a bit of impact on us all this year, but if you could kind of expand maybe on how COVID has had an effect on the agriculture economy this year.
Yeah, well, I tell you, COVID, has affected us all, Ryan. It's just what we have right now. But when you look at COVID, the biggest effect was in the livestock industry. I know talking to some of our hog producers, they talk about losing in equity millions of dollars, not because they're hogs. There's issue with the product. It's because of the processing chain. Okay, so if you remember back in March and April, May, we had some of the processors had shut down. So what happened was they couldn't take the hogs, or they couldn't take the cattle. So what happened was they lowered the price of them. So that was the big backup. And what happened too is a lot of our direct marketers were inundated with people saying, I want to buy freezer beef. But once again, we don't have a lot of those processing plants here in Delaware County. We have one in Delaware County, one up in Morrow County, and if you want to go a little farther north, we have another processor we can use. Even now, our processors in Delaware County are, late 2021 or even into 2022, setting up appointments to harvest livestock. So that was the big thing that we really fell into. Corn and soybeans weren't affected as much, a little bit because of a lot of it's used in cattle feed, so it backs on up. But boy, we really saw it in our livestock producers, our milk producers, our cattle producers, and our hog producers. And it all goes back to that processing chain being backed up.
Rob, you yourself have a farm, Ostrander. Mm-hmm. And you have signed up to do agritourism. And how, with agritourism, was that affected with COVID? Because you got a big pumpkin farm. 'Tis the season in October, but you can't have a bunch of people together.
Correct. There was a lot of precautions that we had to take. We elected to limit the crowds. We had time ticketing. We limited the crowds that could come on the farm at one time, like you said, because we don't want to get them all together. We're outside, so if we can social distance enough, we can offer them a really good opportunity to get out and do some things. So we kind of went that way with it, and we worked with the health department. I can't say enough. They were great to work with, to kind of put a lot of protocols in place as best as we knew, based on CDC and what the Ohio Health Department was recommending to keep people safe. So we put that in place. We followed the Ohio mask regulations. We bought some foggers and we sanitized. We followed a lot of that kind of stuff.
Talk about that, because I thought that was interesting, because one of my favorite things to do is go on the hay rides.
Yeah, we had to, like the hay rides, they come in. We unloaded people at a different location. We sanitized everything. Then we pulled up and let it dry before we loaded the next people on. So we did that type of thing, and we used a fogger so it would dry quicker, but we'd still get the kill on that too. But so we were able to do that, but just we couldn't run as many people through. But we wanted to be socially responsible. I just didn't want to be responsible for getting people sick, but I wanted people to have a good time too. And I tell you, Michelle, there was more. It was more. People were more appreciative than I can remember. They were just happy to be out, happy to be able to do some things. And very seldom did we run into problems. So it was very rewarding, to be honest with you.
One last question, Rob. So how long have you had your farm here in Delaware?
We started in 1994.
And how many acres?
We have 90 acres there in Ostrander.
So you qualify for under that 165 acre
Yeah,
farm.
we're, but to be complete honesty, Michelle, we have actually I grew up in Union County, and our home farm's down there, and we do corn and soybeans and in down that way. So
Oh, okay.
we have two different locations.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mhm. So,
So where do you see Delaware farms going?
well, I mean, I think that we're going to look at the trends. I think we're going to see more and more diversity, to be honest with you, Michelle. I think what's going to happen is we have a really solid group of corn, soybeans, uh, farmers
Mhm.
in our county, and they are excellent. They are leaders in the state. They're leaders in the nation, and I think they'll be solid for years to come. They do a good job, and I think that we'll see that for at least another generation, if not more. Then on the other hand, I think that we'll see, an extension, we have a lot of programming for new and beginning farmers. And what we're seeing there is a lot of the farmers coming out and wanting to do the smaller operations that do direct marketing sales. They want to go to the farmers market. They want to have an on-farm market. They want to have an agritourism operation and invite people out. They want to make wines. They want to make, local beers. They want to raise hops. So I think what we'll see is this real good solid base of our farmers that are here now, along with an influx of people who really want to do some of the niche marketing. And both of those, I think, that are welcome in Delaware County, because I think they can develop a viable business because of our population. So I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see more landscaping nursery. We're going to see more direct marketers. I encourage everybody to go out to our local farmers markets, because I think we're going to see more and higher quality produce and products come into those markets also. So I think that's what I would see, coming down the pike here in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years as Delaware County continues to change.
You mentioned, I know in Ohio, some of the biggest growing smaller niche ones are the hops for the beers, but the hemp as well right now.
Hmm.
Do we have hemp farms coming into Delaware yet?
No, none coming in yet, but it was just a fledgling market. Really started about a year and a half ago, and there's some, there's some trials and tribulations with it. We had a hemp plot down at the Farm Science Review this year, but so we're investigating in extension. There's a lot. There's some interest in it. We just haven't had the opportunity in Delaware County to put one in. But like you say, we're seeing barley in Delaware County for beer. We're seeing the hops. We are seeing some of those, direct marketing opportunities come in.
I did have one question. What about as far as the owners, generations? Is there much? Where do you see things right now as far as just transition from families and those who have owned the farms, and that natural transition you have from one generation to the next?
Yeah, it's something we've been really looking at, Ryan, because I hate to say this, but even us late baby boomers, I'm just right on the edge. We're getting to the point now that it's time to move on and move it on to the next generation. So estate planning is becoming bigger and bigger educational issue with us and a lot of the other people around. So we're starting to see that people moving in. As far as the younger generation coming up and taking over for dad or being a partner with dad, but a lot of that times it is passed from, and I think this is great, from father to son or daughter who wants to farm, and then on down. But we're seeing those big changeovers right now, as you would guess, because the baby boomers, or even the younger ones, are getting in their 60s now. So that's a big issue. And another thing we're seeing, Ryan, too, is a lot of the people, once again, the baby boomers retiring in Columbus, they're coming out and buying smaller acreages in Delaware County. Maybe it's a farm that's been split up, or it's it's not, they don't have heirs where they want to pass it down. They're coming out, and a lot of those are the ones that are coming up and saying, how can I develop an ag operation? And a lot of those are the ones with the niche marketing. So when we talk new and beginning farmers, sometimes it's not the young guys that come out and do it. It is. I mean, we're getting those too, but we're also getting the retirees that want that lifestyle. So it's an interesting dichotomy when you look at it.
Well, Rob, thanks so much for joining us and filling us in on Delaware County Ag.
I appreciate the opportunity, Michelle, and it's been great working with you and Ryan. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob.
Our next guest is Tom Curtin, who is the Executive Director of Preservation Parks of Delaware County, and he's going to talk about expecting the unexpected at the parks. Hey, Tom, thanks for joining us.
Oh, sure. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. All right. We're going to do an overview of the Park District tonight. Our new tagline is expect the unexpected. And of course, this year has been totally unexpected for all of us. So let's see. There we go. So our mission is to protect and conserve the natural and historic features of Delaware County and to inspire outdoor exploration and learning. And this year, we really didn't have to do a whole lot of inspiring people to get out to the parks. By April, our attendance was 72% higher from the same time in 2019 due to the pandemic. And we maintained that 72% increase throughout the summer. And currently, we're experiencing visitation about 32% greater than the same time in 2019. So we're very gratified that we've been able to provide this service to folks and that we are there for them during this time and have the space for them to get out and enjoy themselves and to find a little bit of peace and relaxation. You know, our parks are pretty well spread around the county right now. A little bit light in the northern part of the county, a little bit heavier in the southern part of the county. But you can see by the map, we have a variety of park experiences. And before I go to the next slide, I wanted to focus on the dark brown parks that are in the map there, and I'll see if I can move my cursor around. Future Park here, that'll be Orchard Oaks Preserve, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. Future Park down here below Allen Creek Dam, which will become a Cammon Creek Park. Over here along the Olentangy River, another future park is providing access to the Olentangy River. And as we get up towards the city of Delaware, Hickory Woods Park on Pollock Road, which is currently under construction. So as we all know, the county's been experiencing a lot of growth over the years. And you look at beginning in 1990, it's platted. Then in 2000, we can see really growth in the southern part of the county. And then in 2017, a lot of growth exploding in the southern part of the county, which is why we've concentrated so much on the southern part of the county at this point in time. So right now, 9 parks and the future parks I talked about that were coming online. There'll be 4 more parks to add to that. So right now we're managing or owning just over 1,600 acres of land within the county. One of the parks that wasn't on that last screen is the Ohio to Erie Trail. And we've been working very diligently over the past several years to connect all the dots here in the county. Currently, there's about 15 miles completed in the county. 7 miles are owned and operated by the Park District. And we've got about almost 2 miles left to go. This is something that we refer to as a linear park. We're going to continue linking the pieces parts. Galena has made great strides within the last year with their trails. Of course, you know, a township has had their trail in for a lot of years, getting tremendous use. So this is really a great asset for the entire county as well as the state. Just a quick map to show you what we've been working on and what's coming down the pike in regard to the next linkage going east and north into Knox and Licking. This is the area here that Knox and Licking County are working on together. And in fact, in 2021, this should be completed with a trailhead down here by County Line Road. This dark green line that you can see is the Ohio to Erie Trail, which is currently on roads. And once we have all this completed, it will be totally off the road and on old railroad right-of-way. This section in dark green has existed for several years. It runs from Meredith State Road up to North County Line Road. It's about 1.5 miles. The dotted line here is what we've been working on this year. We've constructed 2.5 miles of bike trail this year, and we're looking at next year, this red dotted area here, about another mile worth of trail to be built that will bring us down to Hartford Road, just outside of the village of Sunbury. And then the last piece to actually connect to the village is a railroad trestle, which we were able to purchase over Big Walnut Creek. And that purchase was made available thanks to the efforts of Rick Carfagna, some colleagues down at the State House that were able to get us some funds through the state community capital improvement budget. And so we were able to acquire 3 parcels there to actually get us to the village, which is very exciting. Let's give you a quick look at the trail. This is a section that we've just completed up by Route 605 and 3. We have had the great benefit of receiving grants through Clean Ohio. Just almost $2 million worth of grants. You know, we have a local match to that, which is about 25% of each grant application that we've been able to receive. So this has been a huge help to us and the community in order to get this trail constructed. The other thing we're doing as far as trails is the Park District can budget up to $100,000 every year to help communities throughout the county construct bike trails or engineer bike trails. The money can be used for a variety of things. But this year, we were able to award grants to Liberty Township, part of their home road multi-use trail, and the village of Sunbury, which will provide a linkage from their Fallen Heroes Trail to another part of the bike trail. So that was $100,000 between those 2 grants. So we're excited about being able to help communities make those connections and offer the residents of the county more trails to use. Getting back to the parks, just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about Gallant Farm. It's a small park, about 19 acres, but it allows us to do a lot of cultural history interpretation around farm life, the 1930s and the 1940s. We do a lot of programming there, not only for school groups, but the general public. And so we have a variety of things that go on, not just educational programs, but we also work with the County Antique Farm Machinery Association, and we do a tractor show during August. The other thing we've been doing the last couple of years is we've been donating produce to the People in Need program. And this year we donated 110 pounds worth of produce to that particular program. Now, getting back to those new parks I talked about when I showed you the county map, Hickory Woods Park is on Pollock Road, south of the city of Delaware. And we are coming in off of Pollock Road here with an entrance drive. And this is where the bulk of the kind of the leisure recreational activities will take place, with a trail system heading off to the east towards Berlin Station Road over here. I've got a concept drawing to show you. So Pollock Road is running along here, and you'd come in off of Pollock Road to a parking lot. And this is going to be a year-round building that we'll use for programming, but also be made available to county residents to rent for various activities, social activities or meetings or whatever might be used. There'll be a playground over here. We will have a small picnic shelter in this grove of trees. We've constructed a pond. There'll be a wetlands that we're making here, a sledding hill in this part of the grassy area, and then trails going off into the woods, as I said, to the east towards Berlin Station Road. And this will occur in phases. We're just wrapping up phase 1 right now, which consisted of a gravel entrance drive, gravel parking lot, the construction of the pond, which you see here, and a trail around the pond. Phase 2 will begin next year with the addition of trails and a boardwalk. We'll begin to do some engineering and design for restrooms and the picnic shelter that I referred to. And then there'll be a Phase 3 going forward as well. McCammon Creek Park, which we've been working on for 5 years as far as land acquisition goes, is just south of Alum Creek Dam and just north of the Polaris area. And this property includes the Bicentennial Barn. We've been able to acquire parcels over the past 5 years, again, thanks to Clean Ohio grants and some park district funds. We have one more acquisition to go in 2021, which is up here in yellow. And then our acquisition will be complete. We've got some concept drawings as far as the park development goes, and we'll begin really seriously master planning the park and looking at phasing in the development for this property as well. And what's nice is you've got Freedom Trail Elementary School here, Orange High School and Middle School are down the road to the west. So we're very close to those schools, and we're looking forward to working with the Olentangy school system on environmental programming, and particularly using this park. A lot of variety at this park. We do a lot of habitat restoration with all of the acquisitions we get. But with this park in particular, we've planted 30,000 seedlings, hundreds of bald and burlap trees. We've done some meadow restoration work. We've discovered that the stream running through the park, which we have named McCammon Creek, is a high quality stream, has a lot of great invertebrates, very surprising given the amount of development that's going on at this part of the county, but just goes to show you that we still have some really nice, unique natural areas despite the aggressive development that's been occurring in this area. And of course, the Bicentennial Barn. And this barn will be renovated in the future and be turned into a year-round facility again for programming and also rental by the public. You know, Bell Canyon Road is being widened. It's going to encroach a little bit on the barn, so we're actually going to have to dismantle the barn, move it into the park slightly, and then reconstruct it. And our hope is that the new foundation that was formed to help the park district with capital projects and educational programming will be able to raise the money to actually renovate this barn. The other thing we're doing here at McCammon Creek Park is a stream restoration project, and we're doing this in conjunction with Orange Township trustees. I mentioned Bell Canyon Road being widened. The creek that flows through the park goes under Bell Canyon Road and actually ran alongside it and then made its way to Alum Creek. And over the years, it had eroded quite deeply into the ground. There was no floodplain associated with it. And in order to really support the road widening of Bell Canyon, we're moving the stream away from the road, so it's no longer paralleling the road, and running more or less easterly towards Alum Creek. We've established floodplain area, which you can see here. We put some sinuosity in there, some pools, some riffles. So we're doing a lot of restoration work that will not only enhance water quality, but provide great wildlife habitat moving forward. The aviary at Deer Haven Park. This is a recently completed project that our operations folks built in-house. We're working with an organization called Ohio Nature Education. They rehabilitate birds, and some birds can't be released because they're too injured. And so we're going to house some of those birds that can't be released, and we'll use them as part of the educational opportunities that people will have when they come to Deer Haven. And of course, having the Amy Clark Bader Bird Sanctuary there and the aviary, it's a great combination when we talk about birds and the natural history surrounding birds. We'll probably have animals beginning in the late spring of 2021. Future park development. Up in Porter Township, we have a life estate now, 57 acres that will eventually become Orchard Oaks Preserve. And this is a life estate that was given to us by Dave Orndorff, actually purchased from Dave. That's him there in the center. Just a beautiful piece of property, tremendous wildflowers, great diversity in the forest, a lot of unique wildlife. In fact, a bobcat has been seen up there, great salamanders and vernal pools. Really is a unique experience. And this is going to be a great spot for natural history interpretation and educational programs, and actually summer day camps for kids. Sycamore Run. This is a unique piece of property for us, 22 acres right here at the intersection of Home Road and 315 along the Olentangy River. This was donated to us by the folks who developed the Trails End development across the street there. And we've been developing a canoe and kayak access there this year. And what's nice is up here, just below Delaware Dam State Park, we have our River Run Park, which is, again, canoe and kayak access. And you can come down the river to Mingo Park, which you can put in or take out there, and then continue down the river to us at Sycamore Run, and can continue down farther to High Banks, providing, of course, the water level cooperates. So the Sycamore Run was constructed this year, entrance drive, parking lot, the trail down to the river. Not quite finished yet. We need to come back here spring and summer of 2021, do some more work around the parking lot, put in a kiosk, a few other things like that, trail enhancements, and then we'll be able to open it to the public. Shalimar Ridge Park. This is actually Shalimar Ridge here. This is Lewis Center Road, and directly across the street is 21 acres that we purchased this year, and will provide a couple things for us. One, we'll be able to put trailhead parking in for the Ohio to Erie Trail, which runs along Route 3 here in Genoa Township. So there'll be parking, trailhead. There'll be a lot of habitat restoration work here, of course. But the other unique thing is this will allow us to provide individuals who are doing bicycle touring on the Ohio to Erie Trail campsites. And I don't know exactly how many campsites, perhaps a dozen that we'll put in there. And these will be for folks who are either riding the entire length of the trail, all 326 miles of it from the Ohio River to Lake Erie, or those doing big sections. So it won't be kind of this general campsite experience where you can just come for the night and camp. It'll be specifically geared towards bicycle touring folks. The other interesting thing about the Ohio to Erie trails, we talk about it here in the county, is that not only is it great for Delaware County and great for the state, it's going to actually be incorporated into the national rail trail that will run from Washington, D.C. all the way to the Pacific Ocean in the state of Washington, about 3,700 miles. So this is going to really put us on the map, not only, as I said, for the state, but also for the nation. Natural resource protection. We do, as I said, a lot of habitat restoration. We buy a lot of property that was farmland at one time, and so we'll come in and we'll plant prairie grasses and wildflowers, as well as doing a lot of reforestation, and of course, a lot of creation of wetlands too, and ponds. And so our idea, hopefully, is to have a mix of habitats that will not only provide us with great programming opportunities, but also provide wildlife with a place to live. We do a tremendous amount of educational programming with the schools and for the public, but I just wanted to touch on a couple of programs. We do a summer letterbox adventure with the libraries here in the county, the Delaware District Library, Sunbury Library, and what we do is there's a theme that is agreed upon, and so the libraries pass out the letterbox adventure booklets. We place boxes out in all the parks The booklets have clues that people use to find the boxes, and there are stamps and other things. And when you complete the entire adventure, you get some type of a prize each year. And so that's been really popular, approaching 4,000 people a year that have been engaged in that program. And we're putting together a winter letterbox adventure this year, a scaled down version, but nonetheless, providing, again, folks with the opportunity to get out and enjoy the parks during the cooler months. This year, the last thing I want to talk about was the Discover Delaware County Scavenger Hunt. We used all 19 townships in the park, and folks had to travel from township to township, finding a specific historic element or natural history element. There was a clue there that they would use, a specific letter that they would look for, and they would spell out a hidden message, and that was very well received. And we're going to continue to do those kinds of things, incorporating not only our parks, but also the unique aspects of what the townships have to offer as well. We do a lot of educational outreach to the schools, both at the farm and of course at Deer Haven, at Shale Hollow, and other parks where we have field trips. And we also go into the schools too to do programs. Of course, this year we had to postpone all of these programs, both in the parks and in the schools. We've done some virtual programming for the public as well as the schools, but we are really anxious to get back out and do real programming and not just virtual programming. So hopefully we get this vaccine behind us and things settle down, and we'll all be able to get back out and enjoy the parks in usual fashion. Just wanted to also mention our summer concert series, which is at Gallant Woods Park. That's very popular. You know, that's Thursday nights through the summer. We get 300 to 400 people out there, and each summer we have a different blend of bands and musicians who come in, and that's been very popular for us as well. And that wraps up the program. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about the Park District, what we've done and what's coming down the pike. These are exciting times for us. We didn't skip a beat this year at all. We kept right on buying land, building parks, and serving the public. And it is a tremendous, what do I want to say? It's a great thing to do for the county. We've got a great staff, thanks to Judge Hemanowski and his support and the board members that he appoints. We're able to do everything that we do. And of course, couldn't do it without the support of the voters in the county. So we are very fortunate that we are supported throughout the county at all levels. And looking forward to continuing our work with not only the county government, but each of the folks at the township level too. So again, thanks for the opportunity to talk.
Tom, thank you so much for filling us in on the upcoming park developments. Gosh, so many wonderful things for us to utilize in the community. And approximately when do you think the winter letterbox will start?
Well, that's going to come out with, I was going to say our January newsletter, but of course the program brochure won't be printed. Look for it after the first of the year.
Okay, great. And then if somebody would like to volunteer at the parks, how would they go about getting involved?
Well, you can do a couple of things. One is definitely go to the website, and there'll be an opportunity for you to actually click on the icon for, I'm trying to think of the name, but it will take you to the forms that you can fill out online to register as a volunteer. Then there's an interview process, which we do online right now, unless you are comfortable coming and socially distancing, then we can do that as well. Mm-hmm. But you can fill out the forms online. You can also call into the park if you wanted to talk to Sandra McBreedy. When you call into the park, the 740-524-8600 number, you'll get a phone message, and it will tell you which extension to push in order to get to Sandra, and you can leave a message for her. She'll be able to pick that up and then get back to you.
Okay. And you get land donated a lot, and you purchase.
Yeah, we actually don't get a lot of land donations.
Oh, okay.
We do a lot of acquisition by purchase. And fortunately, we've been able to combine our land acquisition purchases with grants. So really, a lot of the land that we acquire, the bulk of it, the majority is funded through grants. We put in about 25% of the total cost for the land.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with a grant application. Now, there are some properties that we do buy completely with Park District money, no grants involved. And fortunately, we've been able to work with a number of people to purchase the property over a period of years, which makes it easier on our budget. We've been very, very, very lucky that folks have been willing to work with us and to accept payment over time. And it's very gratifying to see that, because otherwise we would not be able to do all the acquisition and park development that we do. So these folks are being very altruistic in helping us fulfill our mission and serve the people of Delaware County.
And then is the hunt through the township still going on, or is that over?
That's over right now, but we are thinking about bringing it back again next summer because it was so popular.
Definitely bring it back. I can tell you all of our townships, and maybe even send a link out to all the townships to put on their website too.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Tom, thanks again for filling us in on all the parks and letting us know which parks are coming up for change in the near future.
Great. Well, you're welcome. And thanks again.
And next up, we've got Ryan Rivers and Bob Lamb talking about the positives from 2020 and what we have to look forward to in 2021. Ryan, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Michelle. I'm Ryan Rivers, president of Delaware County Township Association. This year, there was a lot of accomplished in commercial development, business, economic development, despite all the challenges and all that we've had to deal with. But we've got a lot of positive things and a lot of big plans going forward into 21. We have with us Bob Lamb, the Delaware County Economic Development Director, who is going to discuss all the things that we were able to get through and accomplish here in 2020 and this look ahead into 2021. Welcome, Bob.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me.
So I think we were going to talk a little bit just about, I guess, overview, I think, of economic development, your role, and kind of, the goals and purposes in general, and then take a look here what all was accomplished and what we're able to get done in 2020.
Yeah, no, thank you for an opportunity to go over those items. I really think it all can be boiled down to the phrase smart growth. And so the county commissioners have worked very hard to implement a variety of tools within the county that can help promote the concept of smart growth. And what smart growth really is a concerted effort to work with our local communities and our school districts to create a more balanced tax base for the community so that we can support a variety of services. And one of the key partners in doing that is the Delaware County Finance Authority. It is an organization created by the county commissioners. The board is appointed by the county commissioners. And the DCFA is really focused on bringing commercial development to the community that will enhance the quality of life and also bring high quality jobs. And I just would quickly like to kind of go through what the DCFA is focused on, how they help support the community, and then talk through some of the great things that have happened over the last year and a lot of the great partners that have stepped forward, like Orange Township, to bring about these kind of programs that I think will drastically help our community be able to address some of the fiscal demands that it currently faces and those that are coming in the future. Economic development in Delaware County is really a partnership approach. What we have tried to do is to form key partnerships with a variety of stakeholders within the community, school districts and local jurisdictions being key individuals within that structure of a partnership, but also with property owners and developers as well as small businesses within our community, and really trying to strengthen those bonds and relationships so that we know what it is that not just businesses want, but also that residents want, and what the elected officials are trying to do for their communities, so that we can make more of a targeted approach when we're looking at development opportunities. And so Delaware County has been changing drastically over the last 2 or 3 decades. We're one of the fastest growing counties in the Midwest. Annual household income is $103,000. That's actually inched up a little bit, but we're the highest earning county in Ohio. Approximately 53% of our residents have bachelor's degrees. It makes us the most educated in Ohio, and we've seen a 15% population increase since the 2000 census. Again, growing incredibly fast. We've also had some difficulties, especially over this past year, as many individuals have faced, with COVID issues arising and changes in business practices because of that. One of those difficulties that we've currently had to tackle is an increase in unemployment. So we are right now at 6.1% unemployment. This time last year, we were about 2.8%. So a significant increase, more than doubling of our unemployment numbers within the county. A lot of residents who have had to deal with financial struggles related to COVID is something we're very focused on, and we're trying to work with the state and the federal government to try to get relief out as best we can. Some of the positives that we've seen is we've maintained our AAA bond financing for both the county and the sewer. And in 2019, we've seen about 3,000 jobs added to the community. We don't have the 2020 numbers at this point. Most likely we will not see an increase in job numbers this year within the community. But we have seen significant investment continue within the community, including housing growth. So one of the key items I spoke about earlier was that common mission. And really, you can see here by this slide, we really view it as a partnership. The county, the finance authority, our local jurisdictions represented by the Township Association, groups like One Delaware, which is a nonprofit that's formed by business owners, landowners within the community who are focused on trying to bring the smart growth concept forward to help the community overall be able to meet fiscal needs in the future. So again, talking about that smart growth, a way to build cities, towns, and neighborhoods that are economically prosperous, socially equitable, and environmentally sustainable. These key items were what we saw come out of a survey we did of residents within the community about 4 years ago. And so we really designed the smart growth concept around meeting those criteria. We also look at it from a quality standpoint. We want high quality projects coming to the community that represent what Delaware County residents want, whether it's from a housing standpoint or an office or an industrial. We want to make sure that it's quality projects that are being developed, that the approach that we're undertaking to get that development is collaborative, that we're working with all the stakeholders, residents, school districts, landowners, businesses, local jurisdictions, even our state partners, whether it's ODOT or Ohio EPA, to make sure that we're tackling projects in a proper way that really builds teamwork and a framework for success. And then controlled. We want to make sure that the regulatory policies are being put in place while we're also being collaborative with the developer, the business, the investors. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that it's a good project for the community, that it's furthering the community's needs, and that we're making advances in the areas that we want. And smart growth can be everything from the Renaissance Hotel in Westerville, new office buildings, new medical facilities, housing. It can also be redevelopment of existing resources within the community, such as work being done in downtown Sunbury, or looking at how to reposition Ostrander to meet some of its future needs, or some of the reinvestment that we're seeing happen now in the downtown Galena area. All of these are smart growth projects that we think help move the community forward. So what we are hoping to do is to secure development that will improve the quality of life at the end of the day, whether that means residents able to find jobs within the community or able to go out and frequent a restaurant that they want or take their kids to a park. These are all things that we think are critical when you're trying to build a community that will be sustainable, that will be desirable into the future. And so these are really the main things we focus on, is seeing home values increase, supporting the schools, increasing the tax base by bringing in that commercial development, because we see a lot on the housing development side. And so we know that we need more commercial, whether it's office buildings, retail, light industrial, to help offset the tax burden that's placed on our single family homeowners within the community. And then minimize commute times. Again, trying to bring those quality jobs to the community so that individuals can spend more time with their families and less time in the car. Our average commute time in Delaware County is 43 minutes. That's the longest in Central Ohio. That means on average, individuals are spending almost an hour and a half each day driving to work and then back from work. Now, COVID has, affected that and has changed some of that, but many people still have to commute. And so we want to see how many of those employment opportunities we can bring here so that people can be at home with their families more as COVID lifts and people are able to get back to the office. At the end of the day, we're a partner. We're a resource that's available to local townships. One of the things that we have really started focusing on is how can we bring resources to the townships and the villages and the cities within the county that previously weren't available. We've really focused on zoning, infrastructure, and incentives in how we can do that. So we have formed agreements with a variety of townships and villages, really focused on zoning needs, looking at ways to develop new infrastructure that can help residents, and then evaluating incentive policies and structures and wanting to make sure that the incentives that are used to attract the high quality of commercial development that we want to see happen are needed incentives to be able to do the project, and that the incentives are being done in a way that benefit the schools, that benefit the local community while meeting the needs of the development as well. So some of those tools that we look at are tax exempt bond sales and sales tax. And in conjunction with that, we often look at different financing for infrastructure development, whether it's grants, loans, or utilizing PACE financing as a tool to help move that needle forward on the project that will make it a better fit for the community it's looking to locate in. And then also looking at TIFs, tax increment financing, and CRAs, community reinvestment areas, as ways to help move a project forward. One of the tools that we use the most to help with infrastructure funding is TIFs. TIFs do not decrease the amount of taxes coming from property. What they do is they redirect a portion of the new tax dollars. So there are no existing tax dollars that are affected through a TIF. It's only the increased value from the project. And a portion of those dollars are redirected into developing roads, sewer lines, other types of infrastructure in the area, all of which is focused on public improvements in that general area to not only help the development, but also to hopefully meet needs that the community has in regard to infrastructure improvements. That is really a quick overview of what we do in the Economic Development Office. Again, very much focused on partnerships, how do we provide a service to the residents, the townships, and the businesses within the community? Because at the end of the day, we're here to serve the community, to help the community reach what it wants when it comes to new development or growth, because we know that growth is going to happen. We've been the fastest growing county for years. We're going to continue to be one of the fastest growing counties. Morpsey projects us up to as much as 300,000 individuals over the next 20, 30 years. So we're at about 220,000 today. That's 80,000 more people that's going to be coming into Delaware County over the next 20 to 30 years. And we want to make sure we are positioned to meet that burden financially, as well as through the infrastructure that we need to develop to be able to maintain a high quality of life. And so the Economic Development Office is here to provide that service, to work with local communities, because at the end of the day, what we want to see is a vibrant Delaware County. What we don't want to see happen over the next 20 to 30 years is for us to not focus on the fiscal and infrastructure needs, continue to see nothing but residential development, and then find ourselves struggling in 20 to 30 years to address the infrastructure, to address school needs. We want to be proactive. We want to make sure that we're taking the steps today that are going to help position the community for tomorrow.
So Bob, what were the successes of those partnerships in 2020?
Yeah, so again, really focused on partnerships. And so we launched a new program in 2020 that established partnerships between the DCFA, economic development, and local jurisdictions. We've entered into partnerships with Orange Township, Berkshire Township, Liberty Township. We're working with Berlin Township, and we're talking to other communities right now in the county. And the great thing with this service is the county and the DCFA have worked to bring together a team of professionals, both in the Economic Development Office, but also through contracting with financial advisors, zoning advisors, legal, with attorneys, and a variety of other professional services, engineering, and a host of others that we can then make available to local jurisdictions to tackle development-related projects that they have. The reason why it works so well is because the local jurisdiction retains control of that project. Basically, the Economic Development Office is serving as a consultant to the local jurisdiction to find ways to address development-related items. And so in Orange Township, we worked as a consulting group to help the township put in place the 23 overlay, which was a zoning project worked on with their development director and the township trustees, as well as the township administrator, to look at how can 23 be positioned to secure the type of commercial development that the township wants to see that will not just help the township, but will benefit residents and the school district, in this case, Olentangy schools, as growth continues along that corridor. We're doing similar zoning work with Berkshire, also in Berlin, and then we're helping Liberty Township with a variety of the development items that they're looking at. And so we think this is really a great way where a township can secure a host of professional services that normally would be very hard for them to do so from a fiscal standpoint. And then we can leverage the resources of the county and the DCFA to bring those available at a much lower cost to the local jurisdiction.
And Bob, if, for one of the townships sitting out here right now, who should they contact in your office to kind of brainstorm some things that possibly you guys could partner on?
Yeah, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk with any of our communities about how we can be a resource to them.
And being involved in Orange and the development of the 23 overlay, there's without a doubt, it never would have been able to do in the time that it was from start to finish put together. Township never could have done that on its own. And then as far as cost, it, very, very low cost compared to Orange Township going out and trying to secure those services, staff, resources, and putting that together. So that's something that's laid the foundation, a blueprint going forward into 21 that is going to provide that diversity in the tax base, the right development, and part of that too, I think, goes with the identity piece and the engagement and reaching out to our residents and getting their input. With development, there's also, some different layers in there as far as just the branding and identity piece. I don't know if you have anything thoughts or you want to share, but like with 23, the 23 development has been a kind of a mix and hasn't had much consistency or, a clear continuity. It's just been a mix of a variety of things. So not only, I think, from a development standpoint and looking forward to having that changed, but also bringing forward, it's a name, it's a recognized, it's a destination. When it's brought up or people say the name or that it's a known place in Central Ohio. And I know that's something that just rolled out, but it was a big, I think, accomplishment here for this past year.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of activity on 23. It started a couple of years ago with One Delaware working to bring together a private public partnership to do a study on 23 that then led into the branding, which led to the overlay zoning. So again, really focusing on that partnership. And I think that's really the critical aspect in getting a lot of these things done. It needs a variety of organizations and people working together and finding the common ground to move things forward. On average, we're looking at saving the jurisdictions that work with us approximately $250,000 by contracting with the DCFA for the professional services. That's everything from just staff support you're getting to consultants that you're securing to some engineering work that can be done, some fiscal analysis. So it really is beneficial if a community has a project that they're interested in looking at. And it could be something that the elected officials are just considering but want to hear more from residents. And we work on that end as well, doing the public engagement, the public meetings, so that a better understanding of what the residents want can be secured to help move a project forward, or perhaps find out that that isn't a project that the local community wants to undertake.
Well, and having interviewed some different individuals and departments and looking back on the year of 2020, we've gotten input and I've been working with folks in the parks area, our agriculture industry. And I think that's for Delaware County an important thing is looking at the heritage, how much of the county has changed, the growth, and all the changes and things coming into Delaware County. And we have that mix of preserving our heritage, the green, landscape. And like with 23, the theme going forward is green and growing. And I think that's something really to hang our hat on for 21. In doing our surveys and our output engagement with our residents, especially for Orange, we found as far as lifestyle, family first, fitness, development. I think there's kind of a mindset of development and commercial development being more driven towards office space and some of the typical stereotypes. And these developments are a chance to put in different things that do fit as far as the diversity that we have and that we want to do it smart growth and do it right. We're going to bring in the right development, but we're also going to have these other flavors involved that are going to keep Delaware County green as far as our agricultural business and the parks and trail systems and all the beautiful things that we have here in Delaware. So, I feel like with the commercial development, it's bringing forward the revenue sources and different things that are going to help that are very much needed, but it also works in partnership in keeping the look and feel of the county what our residents want it to be.
Yes, again, going back to that smart growth commentary of it's just not about growing, it's about growing smart. And part of that is respecting our heritage and also preserving those type of amenities, parks, trails that residents want, and being able to develop more trails and parks as we grow. Because as the population increases, we're going to need more of those resources to maintain the quality of life that we desire.
Going into the first quarter of 21, anything to look for, or things you think we'll see soon come to life or go live?
Yeah, so outside of just what I talked about with the local jurisdiction partnerships, we launched some COVID-oriented programs in 2020, revolving loan fund to help local businesses, as well as a grant program and an intensive shop local campaign to engage our local small businesses and residents in the community to buy locally, shop locally, support our small businesses. We've partnered with a variety of organizations on that campaign. I see that continuing as we go into 21. I also think we're going to look at focusing more on fiber and cellular development in 21, trying to put in place a comprehensive plan to fund additional development with our partners. We don't want to be in the fiber or the cellular business. What we want is to find innovative ways to structure public-private partnerships that will encourage the businesses in the fiber and cellular fields to make more investments here in Delaware County. And then looking in general at infrastructure improvements that we need to be undertaking, whether it's additional access to highways or building turn lanes at key intersections, or increasing sewer capacity within the county, or working with Delco to build new water facilities. We want to be a good partner. We want to be taking proactive steps in all those areas. And so I think we'll see more of a focus on 21 on those items than what we've seen in 2020, which has been a lot of structuring of partnerships with local jurisdictions and then dealing with the COVID items that have arisen throughout the year.
I was going to ask Bob, looking back, were there any businesses that we're going to notice didn't make it through? Because that is an issue. But go ahead.
I mean, we're definitely going to see businesses that can't make it through 21 because of fiscal losses that they've suffered in 2020 and 2021. Unfortunately, that's just the reality. We're also seeing shifts in the market that will most likely be long-term changes within the market, whether it's office space demand or other things which will most likely affect other businesses within the county. But we've also seen businesses that have increased staffing or increased sales, especially on the light industrial side. There's been a lot of pain brought by COVID, but there's also been some businesses that have been able to secure new opportunities and make investments to grow and bring on new people.
And businesses that that we may see join Delaware County in 2021, can you talk about any of that yet?
We are talking with several different companies, working with a lot of property owners right now. A lot of it's in the light industrial side. That's really where we're seeing interest, some medical. But unfortunately, nothing I can give you a name to right now, but I think we will see continued investment within the county throughout 2021.
Well, and Bob, I know we had started our development series and had one event, and then that was when COVID.
It was a great event, though.
It was. We got off to a good start. Unfortunately, we had to pause. But looking into the first quarter of 21, looking forward to starting that back up. I think we're still going to be in a virtual world here for probably the next few months.
but I am eager to see us get back and get back to that series. And just as this year, all the projects, things that continued one way or another, we found a way to get it done, to keep things on track and moving forward. And I know with our series as well, we'll get that back moving forward, and we continue to make progress. And hopefully we won't have the surprises in 21 that we had in 2020. But I think looking back, great team that did a lot of great work and overcame a lot of adversity, and we're in the position that we are in going into 21, thanks to a lot of dedication and folks riding that through.
I think a lot of credit needs to be put on our local leaders, county commissioners, township trustees, county engineer's office, county auditor, the treasurer's office. A lot of individuals came together, and many more of our elected leaders outside of just those, prosecutors and judges, so many, to put in place policies and programs quickly to do what we could for local businesses, local residents. And so just a lot of appreciation to all those individuals for the work they did to better position us to get through 2020.
And the Township Association is looking forward to continuing to grow and strengthen and supporting our townships, those relationships and networks, being there to help and provide assistance for each other and working in partnership with the county. So we continue to be a prosperous and successful county and a great place to live and work.
Rob, I want to thank you so much for joining us and filling us in on everything going on in development around Delaware County.
Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with all of you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
And that concludes our look back at 2020, and we look forward to seeing you in 2021.